Have you ever wondered how many calculations go into this 1 second? Hello PhotoPills! Inspired by our friend Rami Dibo in Dubai, who is an expert planning and photographing moon-planet alignments, we just had a lot of fun chasing planes and the moon in Madrid with the following PhotoPillars: Howard, Antonio, Fernando, and Jessica Rojas. And because of clouds, we had to adapt the plan on the fly. The result? This is the best shot we could get. What do you think? Do you like it? Let me know in the comments. Well, in this video today, I'm gonna show you how you can plan your own moon plane alignments step by step. From knowing your plane size and flight path to finding the perfect shooting spot and shooting date and time with PhotoPills, so you can catch that 1 second that you'll never forget. Ready? Let's plan it step by step. Okay, we are using the Flightradar24 app, which is the app that will give us the information we need about the plane to be able to plan the shot. So all I have to do is to select one of the planes. As you see, we have here the airport where the planes are landing. So I'm gonna select one plane, and the first thing you need to figure out is where the plane will be landing. And as you see, this plane is following a path that probably will make it land in this in the airport in the 32R runway. We'll see it later when it gets closer to confirm it. But a part of knowing where the plane will be landing, the runway that the plane will be landing on, we also have key information here in the app. The first one is the barometric altitude, which is the altitude above sea level of the plane. Right now, the barometric altitude is around 2,377 meters. And as you see, as the plane advances towards the airport, the barometric altitude changes. And this is key. This barometric altitude is calculated above sea level. So when we calculate the height of the moon above the ground level, we need to take into account the ground level altitude above sea level. So we need to subtract the ground level altitude above sea level to this barometric altitude. We'll see it later in PhotoPills. Apart from the altitude, one other key information that is giving me is the model of the plane. In this case, it is a Boeing 738. We also have other planes landing following the same path, like the Airbus 320, and these planes have a wing width of 34 meters in total. Why is that important? Because the width of the plane, the size of the plane, will help me decide the size of the moon I want. For example, if I have a plane of 34, 36 meters, maybe I want a moon of 40, 45 meters. And you know that the size of the moon only depends on the shooting distance. So the size of the moon will help me find the shooting distance. Well, as you see, the plane is approaching the airport. Now it has an altitude of 1,646 meters and is getting to the airport. And surely this one will land here where this plane has just landed, in the runway 32R. Fantastic. Okay, with this information, we are ready to go to PhotoPills and find the shooting spot and shooting date and time. One of the planes can be aligned with the moon. Let's do it. Okay, let's go to PhotoPills, tap on the planner to start planning the shot. And I have the red pin next to the airport, Adolfo Suárez, Madrid, Barajas. And the first thing I'll do is to place the red pin right where I think I want the plane to land, which is this runway, the 32R runway. At the moment, the date is set on July 7th, 2025, and on July 7th, the moon phase is around 90%, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's imagine that you want to photograph a plane inside the moon and facing the camera. And you like the size of the plane to be similar to the size of the moon. Something like the photo you're seeing now, but with the plane inside the moon. Once you have the red pin on the runway, the plane will be landing. The next step is to decide the shooting date. To do that, you need to iterate. I always start by trying to plan the shot during the full moon and the days around the full moon. So basically, you try one day, you try to plan it, it works great. If it doesn't work, then you need to try another date. For example, now that I have the date set to July the 7th, let's try to plan a shot for this date, where we have the moon with a phase of 90 99% date with the moon phase of around 90%, which is pretty cool. Okay, next step I'll do is to expand the azimuth lines of the moon. This is very important. So tap on the plus button, tap on the expand azimuth lines of the moon button, and then I'll change the time until the moon is aligned with the runway. As you see here, I have the moon line, which is this blue line here, and the expanded dotted line that's aligned with the runway. This is the trajectory I need the moon to be if I want to capture the plane facing the camera inside the moon. Does it make sense? I hope it does. If you have questions, please leave a comment below. So basically, by aligning the moon with the runway, I have the shooting time, which is gonna be around 8:52 p.m. You have the time on the time bar. Of course, this might not be the final shooting time, but it's a great starting point. Okay, next step I need to calculate is the shooting distance that gives me the size of the moon I need. If the plane has a width of 36 meters, I want a moon to be between 40 and 50 meters. So I need to calculate the shooting distance that gives me an apparent size of the moon between 40, 45 or 50 meters. And to do it is very easy. You need to go to panel number 2, tap on the icon on the panel to make the black pin appear, and then just place the black pin on top of the moon direction here, more or less here, and the black pin panel number 2, in brackets, is telling me the size of the moon, 65.4 meters. And you also have the shooting distance, 7.4 kilometers. So if the shooting distance is 7.4 kilometers, the size of the moon is 65.4 meters. I want the moon to be, let's say, 45, something like this. So I'll just move the red pin along the moon until the size in brackets is around 45, 50 meters, which is pretty cool. 46, yeah, 50 meters is good, 45 maybe is better. So I have the shooting distance. Shooting distance should be around 5 kilometers. Fantastic. So now, keeping the shooting distance around 5 kilometers, I need to find my shooting spot, the red pin position, and the black pin position that gives me the height of the moon, the center of the moon, that you have it on the top panel, that matches. Now all I have to do is to change the red pin position and the black pin position, keeping the shooting distance around 5 kilometers, and making sure that the moon height that appears on the top panel, which now is marked to 1 kilometer, matches the height of the plane above the ground level. Because the top panel is telling me the moon height above the ground level where the black pin is, so I need the plane to be at the same height. If the top panel show me 1 kilometer, I need the plane to be at 1 kilometer above the ground level. So basically, because the moon is showing me the plane path, all I have to do is to just change the black pin and the red pin, keeping the shooting distance at around 5 kilometers, until you find a black pin position where the height of the plane matches the height of the moon above the ground level. So basically, you need to iterate a bit until you find the right shooting spot for the photo you want. Okay, and after trying a few times, I think I found my plan. I got my plan. Pay attention to panel number 2. The moon height of panel number 2 is 832 meters. This is the height of the center of the moon above the ground level where the black pin is. And as you see in this Flightradar24 screenshot, the position of the plane matches the position of the black pin. And the barometric altitude of the plane at this position is 1,600 meters. So we need to subtract to 1,600 meters the altitude of the terrain at the black pin. And to find the altitude of the ground level where the black pin is, just tap on the black pin, and here you have it in the box, altitude 768. So basically, if I take the barometric altitude of the plane, 1,600 meters, and I subtract 768 meters, I get 832 meters, which is the height of the moon I need the moon to be, to match the plane, which is really cool. So basically, if on July 7th, 2025 at 8:49 p.m. I am at the red pin position, I'll see the moon at a height of 832 meters above the ground level, which matches the height of the plane above the ground level. And the size of the moon will be 44 meters, which is great because the plane is going to be around 36 meters. And basically, you need to stand there and wait for the planes to arrive. The planes arrive one after the other, and you keep shooting. And of course, you'll need to move a little bit to adjust the composition on the flight, for sure. And as you see here also, you see that the moon path matches the airport, more or less, where the plane is landing. So the plane will be facing the camera pretty well, which is what I want. Let's check now the natural light I'll have at the time of the shooting. So the sun elevation is 9 degrees, so the sun is setting. It's still daytime. You know, the golden hour begins at 6 degrees of elevation. So the moon will be kind of bluish, which is a cool shot too. Fantastic. And another thing we can plan is the field of view and the depth of field. So tap on the map settings button, tap on the depth of field calculator in the map tools, and here just select your camera, for example the Nikon Z6 that Tony has. Choose the focal length you're going to use, for example 500 millimeters. Choose the aperture, let's leave it at f8. I'll be shooting a line with the black pin, which is I'm gonna be focusing on the plane, but maybe it's better to focus on the moon, basically. Shoot it in horizontal, and I'll be aligning the field of view with the black pin. So I have here the field of view, so what will be in the frame and outside the frame, and as you see, how big the moon will be, because this size that you have in brackets here on the top panel, 44.3 meters, is represented by this blue band here. So you know how big the moon will be in the frame. You can go even longer if you want to 600 mil, or you have a teleconverter, you can just focus more on the moon if you want. Pretty cool. So the question now is, if I'm focusing on the moon, will the plane be in focus? Or if I'm focusing on the plane, will the moon be in focus? Yes, they will be, because here we also have the hyperfocal distance, which is 1.5 kilometers. And as you know, if you focus at something that's behind the hyperfocal distance, infinity will be also acceptably sharp. So by focusing on the moon, you also get sharp the plane for sure in this case, because shooting distance is pretty long, 5 kilometers. Nice. And now that you have the plan, all you need to wait or pray is to get clear skies. Plan and pray.
So what do you think? Do you see yourself planning and photographing a moon plane alignment? Need more help? Let me know in the comments. To learn more on how to plan and photograph the full moon, I invite you to download our super detailed moon photography guide. I'm gonna leave a link to the guide in the description of this video and the first comment below. If you like this video, give me a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next Wednesday in another video. And remember, like how the power to imagine, plan and shoot legendary photos. Bye.